What's going on, Nerd Army guys? Welcome to the newest episode of Exploring Comics. Now guys, today we are going to focus on probably the most popular Flash out there, and then we're going to focus on Wally West. So guys, make sure you strap in and find out why this character is probably the most popular Flash out there. Wally West was actually introduced way back in 1959. He was the nephew of Iris West, girlfriend to the Flash, Barry Allen, and soon-to-be wife. Wally loved Barry and his Aunt Iris, so he always tried to spend time around them. While he was visiting Barry at his laboratory at the police station, there was a freak accident, just like the one that caused Barry to get his powers. The lightning bolt came through and hit the chemicals and hit Wally. Wally was bathed in electrically charged chemicals and given super speed, just like Barry. With his new speed, he decided to use it for good and joined his uncle Barry as Kid Flash, originally adopting a costume very similar to Barry's, but eventually wanting to make a name for himself and taking on his own costume. He had a pretty weak relationship with his own parents and actually loved spending time with his Aunt Iris and Uncle Barry, and came to them for a lot of different advice and problems that he had. Wally would go on to become a founding member of the Teen Titans and befriend Robin, Dick Grayson, who would eventually become Nightwing. During this time, Wally would actually contract a strange disease that would actually cause him to age rapidly when he used his speed. So Wally tried to sustain from ever using his speed so he would not age. During the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, Barry Allen would actually sacrifice himself to stop the Anti-Monitor. If you want more information about that, check out my history of Barry Allen right down in the description. But when this happened, Wally had no knowledge that his mentor had died. But at the same time, he was coerced by Jay Garrick to join the fight against the Anti-Monitor's forces, while Barry was taking on the Anti-Monitor. During the final battle with the Anti-Monitor, Wally was actually hit with a blast of antimatter energy. Now what this did is it actually made his disease go into complete remission. It was gone. In the aftermath of this huge conflict, Wally would actually decide to take on the role of the Flash and take on the mantle of his mentor. At first, Wally actually seemed to be a much less powerful Flash. He was not as fast as Barry was and was not as strong as he was. For an example, he was actually not able to reach light speed like Barry was. He can only break the speed of sound. Wasn't quite as fast as his mentor. In a pretty cool storyline in 1987, Wally would actually win the lottery. He would go out and do what anyone would. He bought himself a mansion and became a little bit of a playboy and started partying a lot more and kind of took a step back from the Flash. During this time, he had a really good streak of luck and ran into a lot of great fortune during this time. But eventually his fortune would just stabilize and stay around the same. During his battle with one of his rivals, Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, he would actually finally break through the mental barrier that he had set for himself. When Barry died, he never wanted to ever surpass his mentor because he felt that his memory would be tarnished. But during the fight with Eobard Thawne, he broke that barrier. He showed that he has the potential to be even greater than Barry, who was not just the Flash, but his mentor and his uncle, who he loved very much. But he did it. He passed Barry in speed. He would eventually pass Barry by quite some time. And not to mention, when he got full contact with the Speed Force, Wally grew tremendously in overall strength. Wally developed many powers. He could actually use his speed to augment his other attacks and other abilities, such as the ability to heal people. But his biggest advantage against other speedsters is that he gained the ability to steal and give speed to other speedsters. Being able to drain his opponents down to a slow crawl would help quite a bit. After the millennium, the legendary writer Geoff Johns would completely take this character and throw him around and mix him all up and improve the hell out of him. Geoff Johns is a legend in the comic book community, and he's such a great writer. He would actually introduce different versions of some pretty amazing villains and make the rogues a prominent threat in the Flash's life. Wally would actually go on to marry his longtime girlfriend Linda Park, and the two of them would have 2 children. During the Infinite Crisis series, Wally, his wife, and his 2 kids are shown leaving for an alternate universe. This would make way for Bart Allen to take on the mantle of the Flash and become the 4th Flash. After Bart's death, Wally would actually return as the Flash for some time. When he left, his children were babies. Now when he comes back, a short time later, his children have grown quite a bit and are speedsters. Wally would eventually be reunited with his mentor and uncle, Barry Allen, and just gave him a big embracing hug. This was the one person he had missed for so long, and that was 2 decades that Wally was the Flash and Barry was dead. Now, they're both back. He would start to work with his uncle once again, and during the Blackest Night series, Wally and Barry worked together to go and warn all the heroes throughout the world that the Black Lanterns were coming. When the Black Lanterns finally awoke Necron sent an army after Barry Allen. So Barry Allen alone was taking on an entire army of Black Lanterns when Wally rolled up with the JLA and the Teen Titans in tow, bringing the reinforcements to the fight. The New 52 would actually destroy a lot of dreams for a lot of fans. Now, Wally West has been one of the most popular Flashes, and in the New 52, they completely reinvented him. And I mean completely. Now, in this version, Wally West is a biracial young man with a completely different backstory, and in my opinion, is just a completely different character. I will be doing a standalone Exploring Comics episode on the New 52 Wally West. DC Rebirth will bring a light of hope to Wally West fans everywhere, because the original Wally, the red-headed wonder, had actually come back. He was able to get back into this timeline, and he told Barry that the reason he was gone is someone had actually stolen 10 years out of all the superheroes' timelines, and that's where Wally's been. He's been trapped in the Speed Force, waiting for the chance to break through and get back to everyone he knows and loves. Wally would come back, but none of his fellow Titan members had any idea who he was. Barry remembered him, but no one else did. And he found out by touching his fellow Titan members, he could actually jog their memories and bring the memories of him back. Now, the only person when he went to go do that to that it didn't work on is Linda Park. Now, Linda Park, if you don't remember, is Wally's wife, and they actually have 2 children together. But in this storyline, during DC Rebirth, whoever took these 10 years away knows where Linda is. And Wally would eventually come to grips with this when he would be trapped by a villain named Kadabra. And he'd be trapped in the Speed Force and see Linda Park from his timeline. She would explain that they no longer exist, and he would have to say a very heartfelt goodbye before he breaks out of Kadabra's hold and comes back to save his friends with the power of their love. As tough as it was, Wally was able to move on. Wally West is an amazing character, and now that we've got the original Red-Headed Wonder back, I can't wait to see what they do with this great character in the future. He's always been one of my favorite Flashes, and to be honest, he was the Flash I grew up with. I'm a big fan of Barry Allen, but Wally West will always be my Flash. There's 2 solid decades of me collecting comics that Wally West was my Flash. Alright guys, let me know what you guys thought about the history of Wally West. He is an amazing character, very, very detailed, and has a lot of great history. Not to mention, he is the most popular Flash out there. Let me know what you guys thought about the history of Wally West. If you learned something, make sure to put it down in the comments down below. And also, guys, make sure you like this video and you make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell so you can keep up with all the different videos we put out every day, guys. There's always new content coming out from Nerds Mirais, and we hope you guys join the Nerd Army and stay tuned for all the great things to come. The next character we will be doing for Exploring Comics is going to be none other than Max Mercury. Now, this was requested by a bunch of different subscribers, so he is on the way, guys. And thank you very much for tuning in to this episode of Exploring Comics. I will see you guys next time. All right.